discuss about integrating Windows log sources with QRadar and what are the common issues observed while the integration and the solution to mitigate those. Okay, so we can collect event data from Windows using two types of solutions. First is the agent-based collection, where we install an agent on the Windows server, which helps to collect the events. One of the example of agent-based collection is the WinCollect, and the other option is to use an agentless collection, where you do not install any agent on the Windows server, but collect the event using protocols like MSRPC, SMBtail, etc. Now let's look at what is WinCollect. WinCollect is an agent which you install on the Windows server, which helps to collect and forward events from Windows server to QRadar. It uses Windows Event Log API to gather the events. Now you can collect events from Windows servers from where it is installed, like the local polling, or the WinCollect can be configured to remotely poll events from other Windows servers as well. So from the diagram present at the bottom, on the left hand side, you can see a local collection where the WinCollect agents are installed on the 5 Windows servers, which help to collect the events locally and then forward those events to the QRadar console. On the right hand side, we can see a remote collection happening where there is one WinCollect agent installed in the middle on one of the Windows server, and that Windows server is collecting events from multiple other remote Windows servers and then forward them to QRadar console. Now, again, the WinCollect can be deployed in two modes. First is the managed mode, and the other one is the standalone mode. In the managed mode, the agent management is done on QRadar, and in the standalone mode, the agent management is done on the Windows. We will look in more details about managed and standalone mode in upcoming slides. But in both the deployments, the agent sends the data via syslog. So it is a push type of protocol that is used to send the events. It uses either UDP, TCP, or TLS as per your configuration to send the events. Also, the WinCollect sends its heartbeat messages, that is its health events, so that we can monitor the health of the WinCollect. Now let's look at the managed mode. Managed mode, as the name suggests, the agent management is done on QRadar itself. So what I mean by management is managing the software updates, managing the configuration changes, everything will be performed on QRadar, and that will be automatically pushed to the WinCollect servers. Now this management is done on using the port 8413. So QRadar will communicate with the Windows server using the 8413 port, and this will be bidirectional communication. Now the host which manages the config updates is called as the configuration server. That is the host which is present on the QRadar side. It can be a console, EC, or EP, which you can use as a configuration server to manage all the config changes. Once you install the agent on the Windows server, you do not need to re-access the Windows system. You can manage everything from the QRadar itself. So in the diagram on the right hand side, we can see that there is one event processor and there are 3 WinCollect agents, 3 Windows servers where the WinCollect agent is installed. And the dotted line show that there is 8413 communication between the Windows server and the event processor, and the arrow shows that it's a bidirectional communication. And the other line shows, the other arrow shows the syslog event forwarding on port 8413. This is used for normally forwarding the events and the health events from the WinCollect side. The last WinCollect agent is displaying a remote polling from the remote Windows servers. So the WinCollect won't be installed on the remote servers. The central WinCollect agent will only remotely poll the events and then forward it to the event processor. Now let's see the standalone one. Here the agent will only send the data to QRadar. The configuration is not managed by QRadar. So since the configuration is not done on the QRadar, so whatever the software updates are there, or if you want to do any configuration changes, you have to manually go on the Windows server and do the required changes. Now the Windows admin who has the access to the Windows server need to do all these changes. So standalone would be a good option for clients which have large number of Windows endpoints. For the managed deployment, we have a limitation of 500 agents managed per managed host. So if you are exceeding this limit, so you can go ahead and install standalone for the rest of the Windows endpoints. It is also recommended to use standalone for the clients who has configuration management or endpoint management solution where they can manage all the Windows Server centrally. Now, the major log sources for WinCollect. So log sources are important to fetch the to collect and process the events from Windows servers. So there are two log sources for each WinCollect agent that are present in QRadar. First is the heartbeat or status event log source, where it will monitor the health of the events, heartbeat events from the WinCollect. The log source type here is WinCollect and the protocol is syslog. Now this log source will be automatically created. You do not have to manually create this log source. And the second log source is used for actual collection and processing of the Windows events. Now, for the second log source, the Windows event log source, it is different for both managed and standalone one. In the managed, for the managed deployment, the log source will have the protocol as WinCollect, and in this log source, you will specify all the configurations, like from which channel you want to collect the events from, like security system, DNS, etc. From which agent you are collecting the events, what is the EPS, everything, or if you want to put any filter for collecting events from Windows, all the configuration you will be mentioning in the log source itself. So those will be automatically pushed to the Windows system, and from there the WinCollect can collect events accordingly. But in the standalone log source, the log source for the standalone WinCollect, you only specify the log source type as Microsoft Windows Security Event Log for processing the Windows events, and the protocol is syslog. Syslog will be listening on port 514. It will only collect the events and process it. It doesn't manage anything from QRadar side. Now let's look at the difference between WinCollect version 7 and WinCollect version 10. WinCollect version 7 can be deployed in both managed and unmanaged mode, that is the standalone mode. But WinCollect 10 can only be deployed in an unmanaged mode, that is the standalone mode. The local collection for WinCollect 7 supports 5000 EPS, whereas for WinCollect 10, it supports double, which is 10,000 EPS. For WinCollect 7, the remote collection is up to 25,000 EPS, whereas for WinCollect 10, it supports 5,000 EPS, which is double of WinCollect 7. Now, since if you're deploying managed in WinCollect 7, then 8413 port will be required. And in WinCollect 10, since it's an unmanaged one, so 8413 won't be required. Now let's look at general WinCollect troubleshooting. What are the common issues observed and how do you resolve those? First one is the agent communication issues. What are the common causes? Why do we observe the agent communication issues? The first one is the firewall blocking the connection on port 8413. So as we know, 8413 is crucial for managing all the configuration updates. So it is required for the 8413 to be bidirectionally open between the configuration server and the Windows server. So if it is not open, then you need to check with your network team and get it open. The second one is the authorized token being mismatched. That is one set in QRadar. So this can mismatch if the authorization token expires or due to any other reason. So in this case, you have to generate a new authorization token and then install it on the WinCollect. The third common issue observed is due to incorrect PEM file or corruption of the PEM file. So to reissue the PEM file, you need to go to the specified folder on the Windows, which is WinCollect IBM config folder, and there you just have to remove the configuration server.pem file listed in the screenshot aside. You just have to remove it and place it in some other folder and then refresh the folder, and you should be able to see that a new PEM file is automatically generated. So if there is no issue on 8413 port, this file will get generated for sure. But if there are any issues at the network level, at the network communication, so then the PEM file won't be generated. So in this case as well, you need to check with your network team and check if there are any network issues, which is blocking communication from Windows to QRadar. Next thing, how you can verify the communication from Windows is a simple method. You just have to go to the browser, put HTTPS and QRadar IP address. The QRadar IP address is the configuration server IP address which you are using. This can be console, EC, or EP, which you have given during the installation of WinCollect, and then colon 8413. So if you are able to successfully connect, then you will see something like present in the first screenshot that you have connected successfully. But if you're not able to connect, then you will see something like unable to connect. So in this case also you can say that there is something blocking on the port 8413. And the second thing you can verify is if QRadar is listening on the port 8413. So you can verify this using the netstat command. Just type netstat, grep it with 8413, and you should see something similar to 8413 is listening on this screenshot which is provided at the bottom of the slide. The next thing is the commonly observed issue is the log source is not assigned to your agent. So agent is installed, everything is successful, but still if it is not collecting the events, make sure that you have a particular log source, a single log source that is assigned to that agent, which helps to collect the events. Now these are some of the other configurations which is present. So this screenshot is taken from the QRadar site. Under admin WinCollect tab, you will see the agent name, that the agent which is installed. Here we have some of the fields like enabled, whether the WinCollect agent is enabled or not. Then the second is the automatic updates. Since whatever changes you're doing it on QRadar, those will be automatically pushed. But if you don't want those changes to be pushed, then you can disable this option. Then the next one is the heartbeat interval. How often you want the agent to send the heartbeat, that is the health events. So this is also configurable. Then the next option is the configuration poll interval. How often you want to get the configuration updates from the agent. That is also configurable. The default values are 5 minutes, but you can configure as per your requirements. The last line you can see that this WinCollect agent is collecting events from one log source. In this case, it is collecting from one log source, so it will be able to collect the events. If you see here 0 log sources, then the log source is not present for this WinCollect agent, and thus it won't send any events. So make sure that you have at least one log source configured for each agent so that it can collect and send the events. Then the next one is the destination configuration issue. In the destination configuration issue, most of the times it happens that the WinCollect is not able to find any destination where to forward the events, and thus we do not receive any events. We get a lot of questions that the installation is successful, but we are not able to see the events. So to verify if you have correctly configured the destination, this is the screenshot taken during the WinCollect installation. Here, while creating the log source, we have checked create log source, and log source name is configurable. It is customizable. The log source identifier, in the log source identifier, you'll put host name or IP address of the Windows server. Then you have the target destination field. Now in the target destination, you have two options. You can either create a target on the QRadar in the destination tab, or you can use the target destination name as seen in the screenshot here, event collector 0 as per your event collector name. Make sure that it is correct. Otherwise, your WinCollect won't be able to find the destination and the events won't be forwarded. Then the next is the event logs. So these specify from which channels you want to collect the events. Here we have selected security, system, and application, but it is again customizable based on your requirements. You can select these checkboxes. If you make sure all these things, then your integration would be successful. And this was all about the WinCollect integration, common issues, and the solutions. Now I will hand over to Aniket to talk about frequently asked questions. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Rutuja, for your insights on WinCollect integration with QRadar. Now, let's discuss about further FAQs that we get from our clients. The two major reasons for that we are going to discuss here are event drops due to license and event drops due to performance issue. So now, let's start with event drops due to license. When the incoming EPS is greater than the license allocated to the host, the event will be buffered into spillover queue, which has a capacity of 5 GB, after which the events will be straight away dropped. Now, hardware also plays an important role in deciding how much license a managed host can handle. But let's discuss about this into upcoming slides. Now, you may ask how the spikes of events which surpasses the license allocations are handled. So let's take an example to understand the scenario. With this graph, so for example, a corporate network has a QRadar event processor application that is rated for 5,000 event per second. That is shown here with this dark black line. Typically, this appliance sees an average of 4,000 EPS, as you can see here. Every morning between 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., the corporate network experiences an event spike due to user logging in, accessing network resources, collecting mails, and doing normal activities. You can see the spike here. During this interval, which peaks around 9 a.m., the appliance sees an event spike at 6,000 EPS, which is way above the license allocated to the managed host. The appliance realizes the excess events, generates a notification, and the excess data is pushed to temporary queue that we discussed before that has a capacity of 5 GB. Once this spike is normalized, these events that are saved in this buffer queue will be recovered and processed into QRadar. So now that we know about how licenses work and how spikes are handled in QRadar, what if we have the spikes consistently and events are buffered and after that getting dropped frequently? In this case, you will need to increase the license allocation on that QRadar to the particular managed host. So many a times our client uploads the license but miss on the part to allocate the license to the particular managed host. You can do the allocation following the steps mentioned here. Process to allocate the uploaded license to a managed host. On the navigation menu, click Admin in the System Configuration Settings section. Click System and License Management. From the display list, select Licenses. Select the licenses and click Allocate System to License. To filter the list of licenses, or let's say to find the license that you have uploaded just now, search with the keyword with the name of the license that you have uploaded. On the Allocate a System to License window, select the host that you want to allocate the license to and click Allocate System to License. Now, once you have allocated the license to the managed host, how will you confirm the license have been applied successfully or not? So there is a way. You have to open an SSH session to your QRadar managed host to which you have applied the license. You can run the below command, that is grepping and selecting these fields out of the QRadar .log file, where we can see with the date stamp and the peak EPS that the QRadar is experiencing, the threshold of the license value that we have assigned to that managed host. So in this case, the license that was assigned to this managed host was 1004. You can refer the link below for further information on this. Now let's discuss how performance issue impact event processing. As we learned in previous slides, that license plays a major role in deciding how much EPS a host can ingest. One more major part of deciding the license for a host is the hardware configuration of that host. The count of CPUs and amount of memory we have in a machine is crucial for processing of events. You can refer the link here, which configuration is recommended by IBM as per EPS count. So for example, for 30,000 or less EPS of an AIO system, you need about 80 CPU cores. Anything less than that can cause the system to slow down and face performance issue. Now that we know how hardware is important in deciding the license for a managed host, one more major factor that can cause a system to slow down is expensive CEPs. CEPs are custom event properties. Now, how do you diagnose if you are facing the issue of expensive CEPs? You will see the notification. Performance degradation was detected in event pipeline. Expensive custom properties were found into the notification on the QRadar UI. To check what CPs are expensive, you can use the very robust tool that we have in the QRadar toolbox, that is find expensive custom properties.sh script, which lies in the support folder inside opt QRadar. Once this script is executed, it will form a tar file in which if once it's untarred, you will be having access to reports that were generated. One example of such report is as below. Here you can see there is property name, device type, regex, force pass if it is enabled or not. We'll talk about this in the next slide. Enabled or not, QID, and the category of CP. So in this case, let's just take the first example. Event per second raw. This property is taking about 43,205 nanoseconds to extract its field from event payload. So how do you know if a CEP is expensive in this case? So if a CEP needs to take less, a CEP needs to take less than 5 lakh nanoseconds not to be flagged as expensive. So a CEP should execute its extraction from the event payload within 5 lakhs nanosecond. If they are above 5 lakh nanoseconds, the admin needs to tune the custom property to not face performance issues. As we now know about expensive CEPs, because of performance issue, most of the events can be categorized as stored. Now, how to check if an event is categorized as stored due to bad payload or performance issue? To check if an event is stored because of performance, you can head to Log Activity tab, select that event and open the event information. Scroll down and look for Stored for Performance field into the Additional Information section. Here, you can see Stored for Performance. If this is true, that means that event was stored because of performance issue on that device, and you will need to rectify that performance issue. In this case, it is false, so this event was not routed to storage because of performance issue. One more way to tell if a system is experiencing performance issue is to analyze the difference between start time and storage time. Now, what is start time and storage time? Start time is the time at which the event has hit the QRadar pipeline. And storage time is the time at which the QRadar has processed the event and stored it inside its disk. The difference between these two entities, if it's significant enough, then you can consider that your system is going through a performance issue. One more major reason for some deployments to face performance issue is the force parsing of CEPs. Now, what is force parsing of CEPs, you may ask? Whenever we want a CEP to be used for any search or rule script, the enable for rule forwarding profile and search index checkbox in the CEP property definition needs to be checked to make QRadar forcefully pass the CEP. Now, if you have large number of CEPs forcefully passed, the system may face performance issue. These CEPs, which are being forcefully passed, if not being used in rules or searches, should be disabled, or the checkbox here should be unchecked as recommended by IBM. And that's it about the FAQs. Thank you.